When I was 25 and a half, I started a podcast. The goal? To review some of the newest and latest movies, along with some other stuff. With the help of my guests, I was able to do this, but there were dark forces tampering with my podcast, and with me. They called it an improvised podcast for some reason. I eventually found help in the form of myself. Yes, the me from a universe where the movies I reviewed got delayed. Apparently, my podcast made it to his universe. I know now that it is my duty, for the good of that universe, nay, the multiverse, to keep recapping and reviewing these movies, to hold listeners over until they could eventually see the movies as they were made in their world. For some reason, they come out differently in my world, but it's kind of entertaining that way. My name is Steven Schinder, and this is Delayed Replay.
Hello, listeners. This is Steven Schinder. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap / review some movies. I'm gonna edit that part out. This week we are talking about Coming to America. That's right, the sequel to the 1988 comedy film Coming to America, but with a TO. And joining me again is Greg, the president of University of Sussex Sci-Fi and Horror Society. That's a mouthful. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. It's tough. It's a tough life at the moment with all uni and everything. But hey, what can you do?
Right. So I guess we can start by going over like our thoughts on the first film. But first of all, I don't think I told you this, but the first time I ever watched the first Coming to America was, I think I was 10, and like my brother had seen it, and so he was watching it on TV, but it was in Spanish. So
What?
Yeah, because there were a couple of channels that are in Spanish on the TV, and so yeah, I saw a chunk of the movie in Spanish before I later eventually saw most of it, I think, in English, and then I didn't watch it in full until like before watching the second one.
That's like when I first saw Jurassic World. I saw it on a trip to Spain, a school trip, and we went to the cinema there, and yeah, we saw Jurassic World, and there was no subtitles or anything, obviously, so I had no idea what was going on, so I had to wait to watch it at home.
I mean, that's just me with any Jurassic movie. I have no idea what's going on, except there are dinosaurs and everyone's scared.
Yeah, I did not get the story one bit. All I got was like, oh yeah, they're running away from dinosaurs.
Right. I did enjoy the second season of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. I thought that was fun.
I do need to watch those animated shows, like the Fast and Furious one.
Oh,
I do
yeah.
need to watch that.
Yeah, I've been like recommending that to you. It's really funny.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like it's funny and it's action-packed. It's like, you know, the Fast and Furious movies are kind of tough to take seriously if you really try to, but it's like in an animated series, it's like it works for me.
Yeah.
And I just love the characters in the show. So what were your thoughts when you first watched the original Coming to America?
It felt very outdated. Like some of the jokes didn't land well, and some of the dances, and yeah, it doesn't hold up today whatsoever.
Yeah, like when the last time I watched it, I remember thinking that the first half hour or whatever it was kind of hit and miss. Like, and yeah, it had those like outdated jokes that didn't age very well. And for me, it didn't really get interesting until Keem and Semi start working at McDowell's.
Yeah, Semi.
Yeah. And, and and this is kind of a tangent, but my parents originally met while working at McDonald's, not to be confused with McDowell's, back in the late 80s. And so it's kind of weird because, like, without McDonald's, my brother and I guess myself as well would never have existed. So, in a way, this podcast is brought to you by McDonald's.
That might be the only reason I would ever go to McDonald's, is just to say, oh yeah, I've been here, because I just do not like McDonald's. Not to disrespect the McDonald lovers out there. I just don't.
Okay, then I think I know what your answer is going to be to this segment that we're going to do toward the end. Or we could do it now, I guess. It's I don't know if you listened to the Bob's Burgers the movie episode of Delayed Replay, but me and my friend Zach did a segment on that. It was a variation of something he does on his podcast IPC. It's called BBQ Watch, but in this instance it was Bob's Burgers Quarantine Watch, and the premise was I basically listed a few different burger places and was like, would you quarantine for 12 hours from dusk till dawn in this burger place with these characters from this show or movie, even if it were being attacked by some sort of threat that I included? So for McDowell's, would you quarantine in it for 12 hours? You know, you could try out the food, but the catch is that the town is being attacked by, I don't know, every Samuel L. Jackson character. So, like, would you risk
it? As long as Akeem is there, I'm fine.
Oh, as long as Akeem is there.
Yeah, as long as Akeem and Semi are there. Like, I feel like they'd
because of his
crack some jokes.
Fighting skills. Oh, the jokes. Okay.
And yeah, they beat up Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't risk it because, you know, if it's every single Samuel Jackson character, you know, you've got Mace Windu who can use the Force. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but he fell off of a huge building and died. So how much good use is he going to be?
But like McDowell's is on the first floor. Like it's
Yes, but he didn't get that far.
Right. So I guess the end result is that you would risk it, but I wouldn't. So I mean, the food is basically just McDonald's. Like we saw the dad, like Lisa's dad, just basically uses a McDonald's operations manual. And is like just basically plagiarizing the whole thing.
Well, it's not a food recipe book. It's just how to use the McFlurry machine or whatever they had, the McDowell's dowry machine.
Right. It's so that people can read it and know not to go in the smoothie machine like Ed does in Good Burger, I guess.
Yeah, if you make more good Bob's Burger jokes, I will not get any of those.
Yeah, that's fair. I think my grandpa was also like the manager of the McDonald's at the time, like in the late 80s, and it's weird.
Are you sure he wasn't in Coming to America?
Yeah, it's weird because like Coming to America came out like around the same time, but I don't know if like my parents met in like 88 or maybe it was 89. Like I'd have to ask them. Maybe I'll.
I mean, the similarities in this movie, Coming to America, is very, very similar to your life.
Yes, because my life is like the first half hour of my life is like the jokes aren't that great, but then like eventually some of the jokes do get pretty good.
Yeah, your puns just keep on coming.
Yeah, I just love how much Ted groans at my puns. It's like I'm not very used to that happening with people, so it makes for a nice foil. Like it's a nice change in dynamic, you know.
It's not that they're bad. It's just they're too good. It's like, why did I think of that?
Yeah. I mean, like we've established in our group, I base I think someone said I basically use puns to establish dominance or something. I don't know.
That is exactly what you do.
Sure, why not? But yes, I mean, I assume that listeners have already watched the first movie, so we don't need to spend too much time on it.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers for everything. So this one picks up like 30 years later, and of course, Akeem and Lisa are like about to become like king and queen, because I guess they can't become those until like King Jaffe, James Earl Jones's character dies. So he's like dying, and his wife has been dead for a while. And the catch is that in order for someone to rule Zamunda, it has to be a male heir. And so he tells them, like, while he's like ailing on his like deathbed, he says that Akeem has a son in Queens that he didn't know about. Like, he found this out recently. I thought that was a bit weird. Like, kind of felt like a retcon,
Yeah, because it's just to get them to go back to Queens.
Yeah, and I should mention that at the beginning of this movie, there's like this flashback to like during the first movie. It's like after the subway scene, but before Akeem goes back to his home country, where he's like at a bar and he meets Leslie Jones's character, and he's like super depressed, and then they kind of hit it off, and then have some wine and just pretty much have like it's like a one night stand sort of thing. What did you think of what they did to make Eddie Murphy and I guess Leslie Jones look younger for this scene?
It was quite well done, I think. If you've seen The Irishman, it can be done very well. And unlike in The Mandalorian, it actually looked good.
Yeah, because that guest appearance in the season 2 finale did not look very good. It looked like a video game.
Yeah, it was nasty.
As for The Irishman, I still haven't seen it yet. It just feels really daunting because of how long it is,
Yeah, it is very long, but it's Martin Scorsese. Is it? I think it's a Scorsese movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's also
he makes it go quite quickly.
Oh, but it's also like a gangster movie, and I don't normally like look for gangster movies. But my dad like swears up and down that like I need to watch it.
Yeah, you haven't seen Goodfellas, have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, if there's one thing you need to do, it's Goodfellas, and then The Irishman if you want to. But yeah, the Goodfellas is one of Scorsese's. Probably, I'll probably rank it as his second best work of art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one Scorsese film that I really love is Hugo, which is based on a book and is about this kid who meets this filmmaker who like left the filmmaking industry. I forget what the filmmaker's name was, but it's like there are like these silent films, and it's a really great movie.
I have seen it. I can't remember much of it though.
Yeah, because the filmmaker was like a real life person, so the movie's like historical fiction. George May Lee. But yeah, that was a great movie. Came out in 2011. I remember seeing that in the theater, and I was like mesmerized by the visuals.
Yeah, my favorite Scorsese movie has got to be Shutter Island. Like, I've seen that movie, second time quite recently, and watching it a second time, you can appreciate it so much more. It's so perfectly acted. Leonardo DiCaprio is perfect. Mark Ruffalo is very good in that as well.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's really good, really well acted, and it has like that eerie mystery vibe. It's really good.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on, and it's like...
Yeah. I also just scrolled through my feed, and like a friend just shared a picture of chicken tenders with French fries, and now I'm kind of hungry. But anyway,
Well, you gotta wait. Gotta wait till later.
Yeah, because it's impolite to eat during the stream, or recording, rather. So, yeah, that did kind of feel like a retcon, but like you said, it's so that to set in motion the events of, Akeem and Semi going back to America, and Semi's like, oh, hell no, because he doesn't want to go back. And of course, Akeem and Lisa have a discussion about like the one night stand thing, and he tries justifying, saying like, we had argued, and it seemed like you never wanted to see me again. I was like without hope in that moment. I thought that little exchange was pretty believable.
Yeah, the acting definitely got better in this movie than the other one.
Oh yeah, the acting overall is better in this second movie, which was a relief, because it's like, oh, I'm going into this, hope that the jokes don't age badly,
Yeah, I think because Coming to America was before Eddie Murphy did Nutty Professor, right?
Yeah, and that was another one where he played multiple characters.
Yeah, so he has more experience doing that.
Yeah, and he's had experience being in the comedic masterpiece that is Shrek.
Yeah, Donkey is one of the best characters of all time.
Yes. The whole thing with the king being on his deathbed and saying that there's like this like younger heir that they need to find, it reminded me of Shrek the Third, when Fiona's dad tells Shrek that he needs to look for like the king's nephew, who's Arthur, who ends up being King Arthur.
Yeah, Arthur Pendragon.
Yeah,
the little scrawny kid.
Yeah, so like Coming to America kind of gave me Shrek the Third vibe.
Yeah, I did like that when they reference that movie where you think, oh, this really hot guy is going to be his son, and then no, it turns out to be the scrawny kid.
Right, yeah, because they find Lancelot first and assume that he's Arthur, but he's the person bullying Arthur. That movie gets a bad rap, but I actually really enjoyed that one.
It's still better than Forever After.
I mean, I did like Forever After as well, but I
mean, they basically retconned Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, like they changed his appearance, but I mean, if he's magical, like I don't know. It's weird because at the end of Shrek Third, like Rumpelstiltskin is one of the, if I remember correctly, he's one of the villains who decides to turn over a new leaf. But then in the fourth movie, he looks completely different, voiced by a different actor, and is like full on evil. And it's like, are there just two Rumpelstiltskins? Like, is it just a common name and they both use magic, or like what's going on?
Maybe like it was like a sequel book, and it's come from the sequel Rumpelstiltskin. Like he's the gone bad version.
Yeah, and Forever After, it had its epic moments. Like I loved how it had like all the ogres together and in battle and whatnot. But it's all
the Chimichanga van.
Yeah.
Which I thought chimichangas came from Shrek when they don't.
And I know that people say, oh, that movie didn't matter because, what ends up happening. But I think it's a good lesson for Shrek the character. But I don't know. I actually haven't seen that one since I saw it in the cinema back in 2010. And it was weird because I remember it was being advertised under two different titles. It was Shrek Forever After and Shrek the Final Chapter. It was like they couldn't decide which title to go with. And like later that year, Saw 7 was being advertised as like Saw 3D and Saw the Final Chapter. Or maybe that was for the DVD release, but it was like a really weird time, I guess.
Yeah, like the new Saw movie is named like from the Book of Saw.
Yeah, Spiral from the Book of Saw, yeah. I talked.
Oh, that seems a bit weird.
Yeah, I talked about that one with Andres when we were like in a room where we couldn't escape unless we recapped that movie and Escape Room 2. That was kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw Escape Room quite recently. That was a very good. The ending kind of let it open.
Yeah.
For a sequel.
Yeah, you got to watch. Escape Room 2 is something. And listeners, you can check out those episodes in season 1. but coming to America.
Yeah, we need to find a way to actually discern coming to America and coming to America.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we do coming to America again would be how we should talk about coming to America. Or just emphasize the two.
Or just C2,
Twice.
C2A or something.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Coming to America Too Furious.
Coming to America to Mexico.
Right. So this came out in December 18th, the same day that Dune came out, actually. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, so Akeem and Semi go back to Queens, and they're on the search. But also back in Zamunda, you also have a couple other returning characters. So there's a character who was originally supposed to be Akeem's bride in the first movie, whose name is Imani. And like she comes back, and her older brother, General Izzy, who's played by Wesley Snipes here, they're kind of like trying to stir trouble because they're like, Imani was supposed to marry Akeem. We were supposed to be royalty. And so they're like antagonizing the characters who are still around in Zamunda. So you kind of got Lisa and her daughter Mika going up against them. I thought that was an interesting way of shaking up the dynamic, as well as, I guess, injecting a bit more seriousness into this comedic movie.
Yeah, it did help to break it up a little bit, like more bite-sized chunks of comedy and drama.
Yeah, like going into this, I was not expecting for there to be like battles between General Izzy's forces and like Zamunda forces. Like I was expecting to see like an epic battle sort of thing.
It was very endgame.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like that sort of scale, but like with better lighting, you know?
Or better to say, it was more like Black Panther, given that it's set in a fictional African country.
Yeah, and just like Black Panther, I gotta say the wardrobe, like the costuming, was very on point in this movie.
Yeah, I was kind of upset that Eddie Murphy didn't dress up as the Central Chocolate from wrestling as well, because I wanted him to dress up as Central Chocolate.
Right, yeah.
I had to see who is in that movie as well. We got Central Chocolate return.
Yeah.
But also we've got the barbershop people return. And surprisingly, they didn't age as much as I thought they would after 30 years.
Yeah, maybe it's a subliminal message that like barber shop life helps you age better.
They look exactly the same.
Yeah, and they like joke around and stuff, but also like, you know, acknowledge the political incorrectness of one of the guy's jokes. But yeah, it was kind of, so I thought it was weird that they say that Akeem and Semi have not been back here in 30 years. Like, it's hard for me to believe that they've never been back when, like, Lisa's dad and I guess possibly some other family members, like, live in America, you know?
Yeah, like 30 years is quite a long time to not go back.
Yeah, and I was glad that they did bring back Lisa's dad, Mr. McDowell. I can't remember what his first name is.
He was hilarious.
Yeah, what'd you think of what they ended up doing with the whole McDowell's restaurant thing?
I feel like they added to the whole family feud thing that was going on. Like there's basically a three-way what we had here, and yeah, the McDowells were just hilarious. They were just so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I was surprised that the restaurant was like still around and it's like super popular because like they explain that it's become such a meme on the internet that people want to check it out. And Maurice, you know, Louis Anderson's character, is like finally the manager of this restaurant. So I guess his 2-year plan or whatever ended up working.
Yeah, I'm glad it did. He deserved it. Like, he had a dream and he lived it. But surprised it took him 30 years though.
Yeah,
He said what, 2 years in the first
yeah, it was
movie?
like a 2-year plan, but I think he said it took longer when they asked him about it. Because they're like, wow, and it took you 2 years, like he said? It's like, it's longer than that. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, the amount of times that they got raided by Samuel Jackson's character. He just comes back after they've left.
Yeah. Yeah, what'd you think of how they brought back Samuel Jackson for this one?
Perfect. You cannot ask for a better villain.
Yeah, like he walks in as a McDowell's customer, and they recognize him, and he's like, "No, I'm. Those were my old ways. I just want a burger." And then, like, instead of pulling out a gun, he uses like martial arts, and then there's like this epic fight between him and Akeem and Semi in the restaurant.
Oh, it was quite cool. They had a reinforcement in the form of Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because if you listen to the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard episode, like Morgan Freeman and Samuel Jackson are both in that as like father and son. So this was pretty funny.
Yeah, he recruited his dad to help him.
Yeah. So this was a really cool scene. Like, cause like they have like really cool, distinct voices, and seeing them fight Akeem and Semi, it's like really don't know if they're gonna win in this, but they somehow like you get this like extended, like well choreographed fight sequence between the four of them, and it's all broken up by like Maurice just like hitting a couple of them with the mop and like knocking them out like that.
Yeah, he got his time to shine.
Yeah, which is funny because when you mop the floor ends up shining.
Yes, like floor, like mid-level employee.
Yeah, so they continue their search for Keem's son. His name is Lavelle. And they find out that he's played by Jermaine Fowler, by the way, and they find out that he is a dentist. So I thought that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, he made his way through life. He has a very expensive apartment, and he's very well off for himself. And it came across that he didn't feel like he needed to be part of this royal family, like was happy with his life, which is kind of what the first movie was with Lisa.
Yeah, because they meet up with him as well as with his mom, played by Leslie Jones, and his uncle, played by Tracy Morgan. And he's like, I don't really want to be king. I have a business here, but you want to have dinner? Because, like, he's heard the story of, like, what happened, and he doesn't hold a grudge against Akeem because, he wasn't told about him. And so kind of tries to have this, like, awkward family dinner thing, which was full of some really funny banter between all the characters.
Yeah, like when they call back another callback to Shrek, where you had Eddie Murphy say "Bon appetit,"
and he's like, because they're gonna stay over for the night, and he's like, in the morning I can make waffles. Yeah, like what Donkey says in Shrek or Shrek 2 or whichever it was.
It was probably one of them.
Yeah, and so he goes over to the refrigerator in the morning, tries to get out the waffles, but they're like frozen and thawed and stuck inside the fridge. So he tries to pull them out, and then like the fridge tips over, and like he's like trying to clean up the mess. It's like, oh no, I do not want to be in that situation.
Yeah, you just got fridged.
Yeah, imagine if he like opened the fridge and saw a ghost like in Ghostbusters, and it would have been funny because like Leslie Jones was in that Ghostbusters remake that you hated.
Yeah, that remake is horrible.
Yeah, but like we were talking about before, this movie pretty much relies on SNL actors, which makes sense because Eddie Murphy's roots are like Saturday Night Live. I thought it worked for this movie, like kind of made it feel more, I guess, down to earth in a way.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and there are also like these weird shots throughout the film where like as they're walking through Queens, there are like these camera close-ups of people walking by, and you see their Rolex watches, and it's like, wait a minute, are they trying to like advertise Rolex in this movie? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it was quite blatant. Like you're like, oh, this is take me out of this movie. I do not like this.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess at least it wasn't like an overt commercial like in WandaVision or RoboCop.
Oh, was there one in WandaVision?
Yeah, in WandaVision, I remember there's like a watch commercial. It said Strucker.
I'm guessing it's a fake ad.
Yeah, it
like an in-universe ad.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's within the fake world that they watch on the like screens. But anyway, so what'd you think of like the other celebrity cameos that we got in this movie?
Well, most of them I've no idea who they are. Like, he had this guy called Rick Ross, and I'm just like, okay, cool, got a rapper.
Yeah, like I'm not very familiar with rap music in general, like that whole scene, but I guess Rick Ross is a huge one. Like, we see him like when they're randomly walking in the street and he's like just rapping at the corner and whatever, and people are like super mesmerized by his rhymes and whatnot. And Semi decides that he wants to like give rap a shot, and so he goes in, tries to like throw down his own verses, kind of like Mad vs. City or Mad City Versus or whatever that Jackbox game is called.
Yeah, that's a really good game. Have you seen Bad Boys for Life?
Yeah, that one to me is like the only really good Bad Boys movie.
Like, I did like the club scene. It's like, I feel like that scene of the scene of Rick Ross in Coming to America felt a lot like that scene in Bad Boys for Life.
Okay.
Like they're busy staking and trying to see what Samuel Jackson's doing, because he's the criminal mastermind in this movie.
Yeah, it's really weird how big of a role they gave him in this movie, but also not, because he's such a big actor now. He's in high demand.
Yeah, he just keeps disappearing.
Yeah. But brief tangent about Bad Boys for Life. I enjoy that one more than the first two because it feels more character driven. It focuses more on like the relationships. But I'm also kind of wish they had not called it Bad Boys for Life, because it's like, if they make a fourth one, where they could call that, like, they should have called that Bad Boys for Life and called this third one something else.
Bad Boys Forever.
Bad Boys Forever After.
I mean the first two films I found were much more funnier though. Like, they were so funny when I watched them. I didn't really find Bad Boys for Life that funny.
I remember the first one being okay, and the second one being cringeworthy and just endless action without substance, but I guess that's me.
Yeah, I like my Fast and Furious.
I thought you were going to say I like Michael Bay.
Well, hey, his Transformers movies. Unrivaled.
Well, I mean, I know we've talked about this off air, but Bumblebee is like my favorite Transformers movie, bar none, because it's more character driven.
Yeah, and I did not like that one. Of course I wouldn't like that one.
Right.
The only good scene from Bumblebee was the intro scene.
Cybertron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that with all the original
Yeah, I
Transformers.
hear lots of people say that that's the best scene in the movie, but I just don't care that much about it. Like, Bumblebee made me realize that I don't, like, really give a damn about Transformers fighting each other in these super huge battles. I just want a story about a well fleshed out human character and their car. Like
Like a kid in a mech suit.
like like I don't know, Bumblebee felt like a coming of age independent movie sort of thing. Like, and I really dug that vibe. But I also don't know how one could replicate that multiple times and have it be as good. Like, I don't know.
And the main thing I didn't like was Haley Steinfeld, really. And John Cena, I just hope because he was in Fast 9,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
I thought he was alright in F9.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of John Cena as an actor. Like, I'm more towards The Rock. The Rock is actually
Oh yeah,
decent.
I mean, The Rock is amazing. Like, my friend Dylan from Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast, has said that The Rock can make any mediocre movie at least okay, or something along those lines. I don't know. Like if the movie isn't really that good, he can somehow elevate it to make it a bit more watchable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, have you seen Tooth Fairy?
Yes.
That is iconic.
That's such a weird movie. I remember renting it from Netflix back when I rented like just about anything that came out.
That movie was amazing. Because it had one of those guys from like the Cornetto trilogy, whatever his name is.
Or was it I can't remember who was in it, but was it Simon Pegg or Nick Frost?
It was the guy. It was one of the officers in the Hitler movie. What was that called? The one with Taika Waititi.
Oh, Jojo Rabbit?
Yeah, the officer in that movie. The really tall guy.
Yeah, I saw that movie months ago. It was really good, and I was surprised how good it was, but I can't remember the actor you're referring to.
Well, let me see. Who is he? Stephen Merchant.
Oh, that guy, yeah. Yeah, Stephen
Yeah.
Merchant has been in a lot of things over in
Yeah, he's
England.
so good. Yeah.
He's Ricky Gervais'
Who's it?
buddy.
Yeah, he's in a lot of his. I've seen Ricky Gervais, his Netflix TV show.
He has a Netflix TV show?
Yeah, where his wife died, and then like he comes to terms with it.
Huh.
Oh, what's it called?
Yeah, because I've seen a couple of his older shows.
Afterlife.
Okay, yeah.
You heard of Afterlife?
Never heard of this.
Yeah, his wife dies, and leaves him a message, and then like, yeah.
Okay, it says it's
He-
deadpan, cynical, and witty. I'm sometimes hesitant to check out things he's involved in because, well, I mean, Extras was pretty funny, and then he ended up having a really good dramatic performance in like the final episode. But just in general, like Ricky Gervais gives off that vibe where like he just seems like he thinks it's all about him. Like when The Office, the English version, was finally airing in the US, each episode began with these like intros of Ricky Gervais talking about his character David Brent and what he's up to in the episode, and it's like, well, wait, shouldn't you talk about what the other main characters are up to? And
Well, it is his show.
well, yeah, but it's not just him. It's also Tim, Dawn, and Gareth. But I don't know. But I thought he was rather perfectly cast for the Little Prince movie that came out a few years ago, where he played the most conceited man in the world. Like, I think that's what the character's name was, the most conceited man in the world.
Is it a good movie? Is it the animated?
Yeah,
thing?
it's really good.
Yeah, because I've been a month free Disney Plus, so I've just been watching all the Pixar shorts. and those things are insane.
Yeah,
If
they're
you
like-
haven't seen some of those Pixar shorts,
yeah, they're like really well made. But anyway, getting back to the movie.
I don't know how much I've actually spoken about coming to America in this podcast, but it definitely isn't a
Right.
lot.
I kind of want to backtrack to like the rap battle between Sammy and Rick Ross. So I really liked some of the rhymes that he threw down. Like he had some really good verses. Like, I'm not liking your disposition. You should step off opposition or whatever. Like he had some really good verses during the rap battle.
It's like, I'm sorry, my premonition. Not get offered his deposition.
Yeah, and he's like, you think that you can do a mighty flip, but the truth is you are just a blip. It's just really good.
It's like that's really weird dance battles from Step Up.
Yeah. Remember when Step Up 2, The Streets was a title?
Yeah, they definitely don't know how to name movies.
Yeah, there's so many Step Up movies for some reason. I'm just like looking up how many there are.
There's 6.
Holy.
There's 6 of them.
I
Yeah, of the
thought there were like
dance.
3 or 4.
Yeah, there's 6 of them. There's Step Up China, but I guess that's something else.
So there's Step Up to the Streets, Step Up 3D, because of course, that actually
Yeah,
came
like-
out the same year as Saw 3D. That's weird.
Was Piranha 3D around there as well?
Yeah, I remember. What year did that come out? Piranha 3D. Yeah, that also came out 2010. There's like this weird craze for
Jeez.
3D, like shortly after Avatar came out. And then
They were pretty bad after that.
and then you got Step Up Revolution, Step Up All In, and Step Up Year of the Dance.
I think that's a China one because like year of like they have like year of the dog.
Yeah, like it's kind of funny. The next episode after this one is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which comes out.
See, they're all linking together. These episodes are linking together.
Yeah, it's all an interconnected cinematic universe. But yeah, that movie comes out around the time the Chinese New Year starts. Also, we're talking about coming to America during what's considered Black History Month over here. Although I think in England, October is Black History Month, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway,
Yeah.
away from Step Up and back to coming to America.
Or coming back. Or yeah, it should be coming back to
the
America.
future.
That should have been called Coming Back to America, but still having the 2.
Yeah,
That would have worked
I
so well.
agree. Now that you mention it, like they should have called it "Coming Back to America." Like still have the number 2,
Yeah,
put the word "back"
yeah,
in there.
yeah. That was so much better.
I've recently been listening to a podcast called "Hello from the Magic Tavern." I've been listening to it for years, but I've finally like caught up. And there's a recent episode where like the human character tells like the magic characters from the magical land of Foon that like there's this movie called Back to the Future, and they think that it's Back to the Future, like with the number 2. So they're like, wait, then what was the first one called? So it's like kind of silly. So Samuel Jackson's character is doing lots of crimes. Like he's like robbing banks and stealing cars and also like crashing the stock market somehow. It's like he's like
Yeah, he went on Reddit and told people to buy loads of shares in GameStop.
yeah, it's weird how that like happened like in the movie. I guess a month before like this happened recently.
I think that's why it
you,
happened.
like you think this movie inspired people to
Yeah, they got it from this
Dang,
movie.
Yeah. Rip.
Pioneer.
But yeah, he just seems super OP in this movie, like overpowered, but I'm also okay with it because it's Samuel L. Jackson.
He can make any movie
Yeah.
good.
And like Morgan Freeman as like his like partner in crime. It's just It's just a really good duo there.
Yeah, you always had the witty banter between them because Morgan Freeman can be very funny, like the one-liners.
Yeah, and because Akeem is used to being a leader and like sees that like all these crimes are being committed, he's like, we have to do something, and like, but Lavelle doesn't want to get involved because he's like, I got my own life, I'm just doing my thing, and then like this makes Akeem really mad because it's like you're supposed to care about people, and then like an argument ensues between them, kind of causing a little bit of fallout. What do you think of how that whole thing played out?
I mean, he was basically becoming like his dad, because his dad was like, "Oh, you got to be this, you got to be this prince, you got to take over from me, you got to marry," and then now Akeem's like, "Oh, you got to be the prince, you got to come over," and it's like, well, you're just going back on whatever thing you're trying to prove in the last movie.
Yeah, and there's even a moment where Akeem, like later on, looks in a mirror and he has that realization where he's like, "No, I am my father."
And then he cuts his son's hand off.
Yeah, like not actually, but yeah, like that moment in the mirror felt very blatant Star Wars reference because James Earl Jones. And so he like does a call, like a video call with his family back home, telling them what's going on, and they tell him what's going on with like the general and stuff. So they're pretty much keeping each other posted on everything. And it's weird because you have like these two parallel storylines, like we talked about, the battles over in Zamunda and the more comedic crime stuff going on in Queens. It's really weird, but also I'm like okay with it.
Yeah, it was basically Goodfellas cross Black Panther. And it was I couldn't have asked for a better crossover.
Goodfellas, Good Burger crossover when
McDonald's cross Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, there's actually this like straight to video show from the 90s/early 2000s called The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald. You should check those out whenever you have the chance.
Wow, that sounds insane.
It is. Like the
Is that the guy in like the yellow
5
costume?
minutes will tell you everything you need to know. Like first 5 or 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I'll probably give that a watch then and see what you're on about.
Right. So yeah, Akeem and Semi like outfit themselves with like leather jackets to look tough as they go up against Samuel Jackson and Morgan Freeman's characters. I don't think we get their character names, but it's like we don't really need to because like we just recognize them, and like who cares what their names are as the characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they do another like 2-on-2 fight, and like this catches media attention, and Lavelle sees this on like the news and whatnot, and so he's like feeling really bad about not being there. And like just when Akeem and Semi are like down on the ground and about to be like defeated, Akeem looks out to the side, and in the crowd he sees Lavelle, and it feels like it's very slow motion, and it feels very Rocky / Nacho Libre-esque. Like, it's like a person he cares about is seeing him trying to fight for what's right or whatever, and he's getting inspired and like summoning the strength again. And then Lavelle tries joining the fight, but then since he doesn't have martial arts training, he kind of gets beat up a bit, and then Akeem is like, "Stay away from my son," and that gives him like more like super strength or whatever.
Yeah, that fight was very, very well choreographed. Like in the first movie, the choreograph wasn't that great.
Yeah, because like in the first movie, like you see him do the flips in the beginning, and it's like that's kind of cool, but there's also something that feels very artificial about this.
Yeah, because that wasn't him.
Right.
Like, that definitely, that definitely was not Eddie Murphy doing those flips.
Yeah, whereas by the time of this sequel, he's mastered being able to do flips by himself. Like, I think he even said in an interview that he said he would never do a sequel until he mastered the flips. And so, like, once he did that, like, I guess they just pitched this and then greenlit it.
Yeah, it took him 30 years.
Yeah.
To master the flip.
Yeah. It's kind of like taking 30 years to master cooking at McDonald's or something.
Hey, McDonald's, you have to be very dedicated.
Yes. You gotta be dedicated to, like, flip the burgers, you know?
The art of the burgers.
Yeah, there's even, like, this weird artsy sort of thing that they do where, you know, side by side you see on one half of the screen it's Akeem doing the flips, and on the other half it's Maurice flipping burgers at McDowell's, and they're kind of like in sync. Like the music is in sync with it as well.
Yeah, and then, well, because Maurice uses his experience in there to help fight, obviously, because that spatula can real deal some damage.
Yeah, when he finishes flipping the burgers, he, like, runs over, because this is, like, right across the street, and he, like, uses a spatula, which is, like, really hot at the time, and also greasy. So, like, later on when we see Samuel Jackson and Morgan Freeman, when they're arrested, we see, like some acne forming on their faces.
Real fast acne.
Too fast to acne us.
Fast and Furious acne drift.
Yeah.
Or Ice Age continental acne.
Ice Age continental acne. Oh man, there's a trip. I actually have followed the Ice Age movies.
Same. The first one for kid is horrifying.
I mean, I don't have a problem with how the kid looks, but, like, the first one is easily the best one, and then second one was fine, but not as good, and the third one was better than the second one, and was really good. Continental Drift, the fourth one, I thought was a step down. Like, I think it's my least favorite. And then for a while, I didn't watch the fifth one, Collision Course, until it ended up on Disney Plus, and so I went ahead and watched it, and I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. Still not as good as the first three, probably. Like, I did enjoy it more than Continental Drift, at least.
Yeah, the weasel in that movie was so good.
Oh, Buck. Yeah. Simon Pegg's character.
That was so good. Like, when they were in the skeleton and they were, like, laughing.
Yeah, I heard he's getting his own Disney Plus series.
What, Buck?
Yeah. It's called It's called Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Oh, it might actually be a movie. So I think it's coming out, like, next year. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that, because I think they figured out that no matter what the quality of an Ice Age movie, Buck is such a breakout character. Like, you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, he was really good in that.
Right. But yeah, so fight ends, and Lavelle and Akeem come to an understanding. What'd you think of how they resolved the whole, like, family thing with, like, the heir to the throne storyline and all that stuff?
But it felt a bit shafted, like the last one. Like, you remember when Lisa and Akeem get married, and she just completely forgets all of them all.
Yeah, it's, like, really weird how quickly that whole thing is resolved. It felt like they just wanted to finish the movie, and I get that, like, they wanted to like keep it a surprise that like Lisa shows up at the wedding, but so like having built up to it might have like spoiled that, but it just didn't feel as authentic. Like it didn't have as much build up as like, I don't know, the wedding stuff in the first Shrek movie. If we're comparing this to Shrek.
Yeah. Where you can compare anything to Shrek just because it's got Eddie Murphy in it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really weird how like Lavelle was like, you know what, I do want to be king, because I was expecting Mika to be the queen by the end of it, but it feels like nobody learned anything really.
Yeah, it's kind of like a stalemate.
Yeah. And speaking of which, they do like defeat General Izzy and Imani as well. So those battles were like very epic with all the flips and stuff. But yeah, so like you got both of these storylines resolved, and I should backtrack. We found out that Imani and her brother had actually like poisoned James Earl Jones's character, the king, and that's why he was like on his deathbed. So
yeah, that's a very good twist. I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of something that one could have predicted, but it wasn't really on my mind when I was like watching the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so James Earl Jones's character passes away, and then they like crown the new king of Zamunda, and Mika looks happy. She's glad to like know her like half brother, I guess, and it shows that we see them getting along, having fun conversations. And it's like, oh wow, these are gonna be a cool like sibling duo causing comedic mischief or whatever.
Yeah, we did kind of get them like a post-credit scene.
Yeah, when they like pull a prank in like the place where everyone's gathering and like throw glitter bombs on everyone. And it's like like they have glitter fall down on everyone, and it's like that made me feel uncomfortable because of how hard it is to get glitter off, you know?
Yeah, you're like, that's never coming out.
Yeah, glitter is worse than sand.
Yeah, it gets everywhere.
Not like here.
It's coarse, it's irritating, it gets everywhere.
Not like here. Here everything is soft and smooth. Imagine if Padme had just said, well, you're not smooth at all, and just like rejects him.
It's like, I want Kenobi instead. And then she turns around and it goes, hello there.
And then Padme turns into General Grievous and says, General Kenobi! Because there's that thing I showed you of how like her queen
R2-D2
headdress thing kind of looks like Grievous's
Oh.
mask side.
Have you seen the R2-D2 one?
No.
Where Kenobi goes up to R2-D2 in New Hope and he goes, hello there. And then R2-D2 goes, General Kenobi.
Yeah.
And then he turns into General Grievous.
Yeah, I just love how Kenobi's first line in all of Star Wars was hello there.
It's just perfect.
Yeah, he's got to say that in the Disney Plus show. You just know they're going to find a way for him to say it.
Obviously, because it's Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is a meme.
Yeah.
At this point.
I was kind of disappointed that we didn't have a scene between James Earl Jones and Samuel L. Jackson, because, you know, it's Star Wars, but then again, with the way the storylines were progressing, like, it wasn't like James Earl Jones was, like, his character was healthy enough to travel to America, so, you know, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of sad, but, you know.
Right. Was there a moment that you thought was, like, the funniest moment in the movie?
I'll probably just go with the interaction in the barbershop. Like, those characters are just hilarious.
Yeah, like, it really worked and one-upped the barbershop scene in the first movie. Like, I felt like this one was more memorable somehow.
Definitely.
I don't know if that's because I saw it more recently, but whatever.
How about you?
For me, the funniest scene was when Samuel Jackson and Morgan Freeman were describing their plans and how eventually they're gonna attack Area 51. just because.
They're gonna.
They're like, the internet failed, but we won't. Like, it felt like this was thrown in last minute just to like capitalize on that whole meme.
Yeah, that was kind of like out
Yeah.
there, wasn't it?
But like the
like,
audience
ooh.
in my theater was laughing about that.
I mean, I feel like that scene probably would age the film in like 10 years' time.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you bring like a PSP into a movie from like 2000s, you're like, ooh, that console was not good.
Yeah, like who even remembers the PSP that fondly these days? Like saying,
I mean, I've still got mine.
like I do remember it had a couple of cool variations. Like I think there's a Star Wars themed looking one, but you
sick.
rarely ever hear someone say, you know what? I miss the old days of like just playing on the PSP. You know, like it.
Yeah, it's more like Nintendo or like DS.
Like it does have the same nostalgia factor for like Nintendo 64 or whatever.
I didn't actually play the 64. The first one I got was the PS2.
Yeah, the PS2 was the first console that I owned. I guess me and my brother owned it, but before then, like he had a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy. And then when we moved with our cousins, they had a Nintendo 64. And then one time we visited other cousins in Mexico and they had a PlayStation 1. Yeah, but with some other cousins, we played a couple of PlayStation 2 games like Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Clank. And we were like, okay, we're going to get the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I have a lot of cousins, in case you couldn't tell. But
yeah, you can long list.
But I guess we could go into final thoughts for Coming to America. So, Greg, what are your final thoughts and score out of 10, as well as unit of measurement for like that score?
Overall, I would say it'll probably last longer than the first one. I feel like it will stay culturally relevant, and I feel like the jokes landed much better than the first one. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 Americas.
Yeah, I think I'm around the same area. So I thought this was funny, definitely better than the first one, but it still hasn't gone past the problem of the first one's ending, which is that the ending felt very quick, underwhelming, kind of too easy sort of thing. There were some really good jokes, but I do think it could have been like there are some other comedy movies that I do prefer over this one. So for me, I'm gonna give this 7.75 out of 10 McDowell's French fries. Yes.
Delicious.
So I guess that'll do it. Thanks for joining me again, Greg. Where can people find the Society?
You can find the Society on Facebook. You could just search up Sussex Sci-Fi and Horror Society, and our page should be there. And on the Facebook page should be our Discord link. You don't have to be part of the University of Sussex to join. You could be from anywhere around the world, given that Stephen is from America, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, so like the Society could be coming to America in that sense.
It's coming back from America because we don't want to be there anymore.
Nice. You can find me at Steven Schinder on Instagram and Twitter. Steven Schinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can find my fantasy horror comedy novel Lemons Will Like Rain on Amazon. More info on that at stevenschinder.com. I'm also on a podcast called Star Trek Culture. You can find that on Apple as well as by going to the YouTube channel for Culture Slate. Also writing and editing for them. And if you want to email the podcast a delayed replay, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you think of our coverage or just send in random thoughts about other movies we maybe haven't talked about. I don't know. Just desperately need emails.
Need someone to talk to, please.
Send me email.
Please talk to me. I need people.
But anyway, thanks again, Greg.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Same. And next time, like I said earlier, we're talking about Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But without further delay, have a good day.